Drafting the Magic features the thoughts and opinions expressed by Christian Ilton, Eric Pesolano, and today's guest, and do not in any way reflect the views or opinions of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries.
Finally got off the schneid last time. I finally got a win. It was in World Showcase. It was in Epcot. I'm still rubbing it in your face. I'm so happy about this.
It's been a week. I am no more happy. I am still in my upset zone.
Good. I'm glad.
You know me with sports. This is basically sports for me. I don't like to lose. I kept my composure. I thought that was a personality step forward for me.
The fact that you didn't walk out of the room was big, so I'm proud of you.
And I don't want to break any of this equipment. It's expensive. So
this time, however, please don't break the equipment.
Yeah.
we did invest some money into this.
That's one thing you'll never have to worry about.
This time, however, we are now shifting gears to a brand new type of topic.
Boy, are we.
And I'm going to try to beat you 2 times in a row to even the score.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I don't know that I should show my confidence level this early in the show, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't feel great about this. This is...
Oh, man.
Now, here's the funny part about it. It was going to come eventually, right?
Yeah.
I figured, since I'm the one who chose the topic, that I'd get this out of the way now and take my lumps.
Wow.
We'll see how this goes. I've done... The interesting part is I've done more research on this topic than I have any of the other ones we've done so far because I know I would need to.
I caught a glimpse of your research sheet. You really did some good work, and so we're excited about it. How about you reveal our 4th episode topic to the people?
Episode number 4, I've got to find a way to overcome parades. We're going to talk parades today from both the East Coast and the West Coast here in the US of A. I admittedly have not seen very many of them. And I'm not only worried that I could lose this just because I don't have as much experience, but because I'm not terribly eligible for a whole lot of them. So I've got to maneuver and hope that you don't take too many away from me, and I may not even get to 5 selections today.
Oh, man. That's interesting. I think I'm more excited all of a sudden than I was.
You should be.
All right. I think my first pick, which I do have the first pick, I think my first pick wins me the entire round.
Really?
That's my guess. It's the best. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. First thing, we have to kind of go over the rules again. Yep. Number 1, the biggest one that I think impacts everything in this show is that you have to have seen this parade in person with your own eyes, which means I automatically have a level up, apparently, according to Eric. And then our second rule is that it's got to be something. At least one of your first 2 has to be something that has its own home park. And I think that's interesting, and I'm excited to see what our guest judge has to say about that.
Yeah, you and I were texting, what could the rule be? You took the lead on this one and put this rule in place. We landed on this rule, right? We kind of got there. We had to kind of weed a few things out. Folks who are listening to this don't really get to see the process of how we come up with the rule. They just know, oh, here are the rules. Oh, that's a cool rule that they came up with. It's not always the first thing we came up with. We had to kind of move and shake a little bit. We start with a baseline, and we get to an area that we think is fair and will work. And I like this one, that one of your first 2 picks has to be a park that never went to a different park. It stayed in one park. It's only been seen in one park. I kind of like that idea. And the idea behind the rules is so, it's just not, all right, come out and pick whatever 5 you want. No, you got to move and shake. And it allows for both participants to have a shot at something they really want later in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
It balances the draft out over the course of all 5 selections rather than, oh, they took all the good stuff in the first 2. Well, that's it. Well, no, we're going to force you to do something in the first 2.
Yeah.
That way there's a good parade that's going to be chosen later. I think it's fair, especially, and it helps me a little bit, but I am so parade deficient that I'm not sure there was any rule that's going to help me get through this. So I'm excited to see how it goes, and it's going to force me to critically think. And if I end up having less than 5 picks, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with that, because we didn't discuss that part.
I think it'll be interesting. I think it means I automatically win, but I guess we'll have to leave that to our guest judge.
All right, our guest judge today, good friend of mine. I've known her for, oh my goodness, it's more than a decade now. Genevieve Barry is here. She's a good friend of mine. Thank you, Genevieve, for being here today.
Absolutely. And thank you for not sharing exactly how many years. But let's say we've got a lot of fantasy football from a particular place under our belt. So
yes, we do. The two of us, we can say it. We both were fortunate enough for quite some time to work at the old ESPN zone that was at the downtown Disney District in Anaheim, California. It has since been removed, but we always have those memories. So
yes,
Genevieve,
we do.
A little background on Genevieve from my point of view. She was our resident Walt Disney World travel agent for everybody who worked at ESPN Zone. So when they were going to make a trip,
I like that.
They would go to her to try to figure out what the trip was going to be like.
Yes. And I had my packets printed, ready to go. Yep. It was great.
This is true. There were handouts involved.
That is amazing.
I was probably number 3 on the list in the building of people they went to for planning Disney World trips. Whenever Genevieve and one of our other coworkers had the day off and I was there, I fielded questions. So glad to have her here. So I need to ask you this question. How do you feel about judging us on parades?
Actually, I mean, your first 2 judges are definitely people who have, you had an Orange County writer. Like, I was like, really? You want me to judge parades? So I just feel honored. So I hope I, do this good. And I'm just excited to see what you guys pick. And hopefully somebody wins here. I'm looking at you, Christian.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I did win the 3rd show. So
okay.
I am down to 1.
All right.
I'm coming after you. I want to tie it here. I'm excited. And I get the first pick in this round. So I'm actually excited about it.
You do get the first pick. And you have a major advantage in this episode. And I want everybody to know why.
All right. We're gonna tell the people.
We are going to tell them. So your boy over here has not seen many parades in his lifetime. One of our rules is always you had to have seen whatever experience it is that we're drafting in person. I have also grown up under the adage that when there's a parade going on, you go on rides.
Yep.
And I've lived most of my life that way.
Yeah.
So in my past, I have previously worked in Disneyland, and I've gotten to see a few up close, but only a few. So I am very limited, and we are going to try to pick 5 each. Christian's going to have no problem doing that. My hope is he leaves 5 available that I've actually seen, so that way I can qualify for judgment.
Yes.
I like it.
I'm actually feeling pretty good about this after especially finding that out.
You've got a great chance to tie things up today.
I'm excited. Shall we get to the draft?
Let's get to the.
Yes.
Did we go over the rules?
Wait, I don't think we went over the rules, so we should go over the rules. And the big rule in today's, and we always insert a big rule, is today in the first 2 picks, you must choose a parade that does not move parks. It only has one home park, has never been shown in a different park, and I think that narrows it down a little bit. So that's what I'm going with, and I'm excited for it.
Yep, one of the first 2. So it doesn't just have to be the first one. One of the first 2 has to be a parade that's never moved. And that throws in a loop, because in my abbreviated list, there are only a couple that have been in just one park. So I have to hope.
Yeah, that definitely makes it a little difficult.
Yeah, because
I like
if he takes, in his first 2 picks, he takes 2 of them, which is possible, right? Mm-hmm. It's got to be a minimum of one of the first 2. You could do both. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be in trouble. So let's see how this goes. Christian, you have the floor. You're first up.
Let's get to it with the first pick in the parade's draft for drafting the Magic. I am taking a parade that has been to multiple parks, so I am not going on that first. This is highly and famously known as the Main Street Electrical Parade on steroids. it's Paint the Night. There's not much of a debate here. It's going to be Paint the Night. The music was absolutely iconic. It had both the Main Street Electrical Parade audio and some Wreck-It Ralph thrown together, and it really pulled the other audio bits from each float together. I think the new drum was beautiful. I think the Monsters, Inc. float might be the one that actually pushes it as my favorite, because the Monsters, Inc. float, if you haven't seen it, folks, it takes video screens and lights, it brings them together, and it showed me that we can take today's technology and push it into the parades, and it doesn't just have to be a generic float, but it really can be great. I thought the Cars float is amazing. I think that DJ from Cars running the music for the parade was very creative. I think the other characters were great. My one thing about Paint the Night is that it could be longer. It's a relatively short parade, but yes, and I'm glad I fooled both of you with how I phrased it. The Main Street Electrical Parade on steroids, Paint the Night, is my number one pick.
Again, as I do with every show, I try to plan out what you're going to do. And I had one of two things you were going to go in this first pick. And then I leaned toward one of them, and you took it.
Of course.
I'm getting better at predicting what you're going to do. And that's going to help me going forward. I did have Paint the Night as one of my top 5.
Yeah.
So now I'm a little bit nervous. But Genevieve, what do you think about taking Paint the Night at number 1?
I like it. I like that you called it Electrical Parade on steroids.
Yes.
Like, that's a perfect way to describe it to anybody who has not seen it. It's awesome.
Well, and you watch the parade, and I'll tell you, preparing for this, I decided to go back and turn that music on today to listen to it a little bit. And I got, I get chills when I hear that. The audio that they did for that, where the very beginning, where it has the exact same start as Main Street Electrical Parade, I thought it was flawless. I'm giving it to them. That was hands down my favorite parade I've ever seen.
I can't get song names from you. What are the name of those 2 songs?
What are the name of the 2 songs?
Yeah.
Well, When Can We Do This Again is one of them.
Well, that's not the name of it verbatim, but all right.
All right, then. Well, that was not part of the rules for the show, and so forget it.
Close enough.
How many lights in the show?
Oh, there's probably a lot.
Well, I did a lot of parade research because I haven't seen very many of them.
It's over 1 million, I know that.
Yep, over 1.5 million LED lights in that thing. It's impressive. It's definitely one of my favorite float on the whole thing is Mickey at the end. And what gets me with it is just watching that mechanism rotate. Like if you stare at the gears,
you're like, how
that's
does
me.
It work?
I'm more of a technical guy. Yeah, I'm the how does that work?
Yeah, and I think that's also one of my favorite floats of the parade. But I think if you go back, the first time I saw the Monsters, Inc. float, I was in shock. Because the doors were revolving and they had the screens on them. You could see the monsters on the inside. From both Monster Incorporated and Monsters University, I thought that integration of that float was super cool. Of course, Sully's on the front and then Mike's on the back. I thought it was a great one.
All right, so you go Paint the Night with the first pick. I knew you would for the most part, so we'll scratch that off my list. And now my turn. For my number 1 pick, number 2 overall. You know, a couple shows ago when we did Disneyland snacks, I had talked about that when you go there's one thing that is synonymous when it comes to snacks in Disneyland, and that's the churro. And this parade is the one that is synonymous with Disneyland. I'm going clean. No steroids. Main Street Electrical Parade. I'm taking it for my first pick. It's the iconic. It's been all around the world, right? This much we know. It's been Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, Tokyo Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, and Disney California Adventure, in that order chronologically, by the way. If you go by, park by park. I know it's been to Disneyland a few times, but where it was initially in that order. Baroque Hoedown, by the way, is the name of the song, in case you were wondering.
Wow. Boy, you did some research.
But the nostalgia...
Just in case you go on Jeopardy one day.
Exactly, which is coming back soon, by the way.
Yep.
But the nostalgia factor, right? It's not going to be the most dazzling thing you see anymore, but for anybody who was around here growing up, or anybody around the world who was able to go see it, you knew as soon as Baroque Hoedown kicks in, you knew what you were in for, and everybody's head on Main Street is bobbing. Every single person. All the floats. You have the tribute to America at the end, which is kind of a cool thing to add into a parade.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. And then for me, you got to think back to when this parade debuted. To have a float like Elliot, Pete's Dragon, to shut off all the lights and make him quote unquote disappear. Back then, when parades were being developed, was such a cool thing to see. All of those things, you add them up. The interactivity too between the turtles and the bugs.
Yeah,
they can go right up to the kids that are lining the streets. All that makes the Main Street Electrical Parade my number one pick. And just so you know, I would have taken it number one had I had number one.
All right.
So I'm glad I was able to get it in there at 2.
Wow. What do you think? What do you think of that pick, Genevieve?
I like that. I think when you mentioned about the bugs and the turtles, when they're, that sound, like there's no other sound like it in the world. Like you hear it, if you heard it randomly anywhere in public, you're like, what? Why is that happening? It's just like, it's an iconic sound. And my in-laws, so my in-laws are very deep in the cast member family, basically. Let's just say I think my husband was the 3rd generation working at the parks.
Wow.
They actually have 2 light bulbs from the original electrical parade that they gave out to cast members. And we are fortunate to have one of those light bulbs. And it's this very small case with a little sticker on it. So
wow,
that's pretty cool.
Cool keepsake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a piece of history right there. And you talk about too the individual floats, and they make that sound. Those things could bow too down to the little ones who were sitting down, which I thought was kind of a cool innovation back then.
And if they came up to you, you felt extra special. Like it's like they chose you. Yeah.
Like there's always a little bit of joy when you see any of the characters riding on the floats and they wave to you and you make eye contact. But those floats, it was even more so because they were coming, within a few feet. So
up in your face,
right,
saying hi.
I for some reason, the back of my mind was like, maybe he won't take it. Maybe I'll be able to get it later. I don't even know why I thought about that. I know that both Florida residents and California residents have absolutely loved going to see it and everywhere else that it's been. But
yeah,
I think when I was a kid, I remember lining up to see Main Street Electrical Parade. And that was the parade that you actually had to get there early. And I remember Paint the Night doing the exact same thing, and kind of reminding me of something I hadn't seen in years was crowds really getting like 3 hours before the parade started.
Yes.
And I think that Disney has done a great job with parades, like many other things that they've done, fireworks shows, attractions, food. The parades at Disney are absolutely amazing, and I think you could easily swap either of our picks for the number one top spot.
I agree.
Paint the Night's amazing because of Main Street Electrical Parade. Because Main Street Electrical Parade set the path so that Paint the Night could one up it.
Paint the Night is my favorite parade out of all the ones I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I just had to please a judge today. And I had to go that way, and I hope I made the right decision, so we'll see.
Alrighty. Well, now we're going to round 2. And this one, I had some pulls on this one, but
it has to be park specific, or does have to be one that hasn't moved.
It has to be an only one park specific, and I believe this one is that. But I know Eric can fact check me if it's not, and then I can figure this out. My number 2 pick is going to be Walt Disney's Parade of Dreams, the Disneyland's 50th anniversary parade. I thought was absolutely beautiful. Please tell me it was a one park show.
It is a one park show.
Thank goodness.
Your research and or lack thereof, I guess, was still accurate.
Woo!
You're right. It wasn't only one park. To me, that's a really good pick. I mentioned I worked in the park a long time ago, and this was one that I got to see every single day, multiple times. So that one was a little special to me.
Did I take a special one from you?
You have now taken 2 of the 5 that I had.
Well,
so my options are dwindling. I've got to find some way to grab 4 more with the limited choices I have. But I think I'll be able to pull it off. So nice steal there, pal.
I think the Parade of Dreams, I mean, one of the most iconic things was the very first float. Peter Pan was driving a golden Big Thunder Mountain Railroad locomotive. Like, I thought that was amazing. And of course, if you remember, I was kind of doing some research about this kind of stuff this week. And the 50th anniversary was the biggest party Disney's ever thrown. And you changed the face of attractions to have the 50th anniversary logo kind of implemented. I mean, you remember the Splash Mountain had the 50 in the rock work.
Yeah.
And I remember back to those kind of days and seeing that golden train being the one that leads it. But then you had the Beauty and the Beast float, which actually had Lumiere and Mrs. Potts and the rest of the gang. The Little Mermaid float actually had water features. The Tweedles were driving the teacups down Main Street.
Yep.
Come on. That was the best. You had the Pride Rock float with the Lion King, Mickey and Minnie in the castle to end the parade, which I thought was kind of odd that, everybody's like, oh, Mickey always lives at the castle when it's really like Sleeping Beauty's castle, Cinderella's castle. I thought it was cool that the mouses were actually in the castle. So Walt Disney's Parade of Dreams is my number 2 pick.
Yeah. I loved the dancing silverware. I think that was the one thing that stood out the most, which is really random. But the dancing silverware was my favorite because it's just like something you would not think you would ever see in a parade. You would see the classics, the icons, but that dancing silverware, still one of my favorites to this day. So, yeah.
That parade to me
Good
was the first time I remember seeing floats that were so grandiose. I know they've done that in the past, but every single float was massive and were almost two-parters where they have that split and they kind of connect in the middle because there's no vehicle that big to make a float. So the ingenuity behind there, which of course is what I look at, I thought was really cool. So nice pick there, pal.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to your second pick.
All right, I have to pick something that was only in one park, right? That's the rules, one of my first 2. And I'm going to throw a little curveball your way.
Oh.
Because how could I not pick a parade that has its own television special? I'm taking a Christmas fantasy, and it's every Christmas, and I guess now every Thanksgiving.
Which is fine. It's fine.
Hey, we can see it twice. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I will sit down. And whether it's live when the broadcast airs or later on in the week after the holiday has settled down itself, I will watch the entire presentation of A Christmas Fantasy on television. And, I mean, come on, the toy soldiers, the reindeer, Santa at the end welcoming that Christmas is right around the corner and he's coming. And did I mention it has its own TV special?
Yes, you
I
did.
don't know if I brought that up yet. I started in 1995, still going strong today. Christmas Fantasy is my number 2 pick for some reason. I guess that just tells you how many good parades there are.
What do you think of that one, Genevieve?
I love it.
You got kind of excited when he said it.
I did. Because the music box with the teddy bear and the dancing ballerina, you see that and you know, okay, it's Christmas time at Disneyland. Like, we mean business. You've got the marching toy soldiers. You've got Clarabelle acting a fool. I mean, I love that parade. That's probably the parade. I still watch it today, and I'm in the parks, and I get teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Because you get that like weird, like, see me talking about it right now. I'm getting like that. Oh, it's just you feel it right here in your heart. You can't deny it. It is, it's just like a staple of Christmas time, especially when you live close to Disneyland. Yeah.
And nothing like ushering in that holiday when it's 88 degrees outside in Southern California.
Yep. That's okay, though.
The music of that parade, the Christmas Fantasy theme is one of my favorite songs. And I think that something that gets lost a lot in the parades is the unseen performers where, it's the music that's obviously there every single time. The music in that parade is phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal. And I always love Max is actually in that parade with Goofy. I think that's a really cool thing you don't always see. Santa Claus at the end, come on. They added the Frozen float, or they readjusted it so that Frozen's in it. It's a great parade. It's a great second choice.
So we have an interesting dilemma here now.
Oh boy.
What's our major rule every show? Something you've experienced.
Yeah.
I mentioned I haven't seen very many.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh no.
You guys are going to freak out at this one, let me tell you. I have 3 more picks I have to fill.
Yes, you do.
There are only 3 more parades I've ever seen that haven't been selected.
Ooh, this can get very spicy.
This is going to get real interesting real quick. And I'm not terribly convinced I can avoid all of yours. And we never really prepared for a contingency plan like this. So
Yeah.
I guess if I can only get to 4 or only get to 3, that's on me, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about that. I'm just going to have to hope my limited amount of selections is a better group than yours.
We'll see. I'm glad I took 2 of yours
I'm
in the
excited to
first
see where
2.
this goes.
You know? Here we go.
So I have got to...
The plot thickens.
Exactly.
Yes. As we go to round 3, and I have the first selection of round 3, I am excited to take this to the other coast. We are going to Walt Disney World, and it is going to be another anniversary parade. The Share a Dream Come True / Dreams Come True / Celebrate a Dream Come True. It's been through multiple names, but it was originally designed to be in the celebration of 100 years of Disney. The parade floats were essentially snow globes, and the characters were in the snow globes, and they looked like they were still, and all of a sudden they started moving around. I thought that the Mickey float that kind of led things off had all the different variations of Mickey leading up to the Mickey that was in the snow globe actually moving around. I thought they integrated a lot of characters as a special nod to the 100 years of Disney. No doubt, probably my favorite Walt Disney World parade is Share a Dream Come True / Dreams Come True / Celebrate a Dream Come True. I'm going to Share a Dream Come True is the name that it was as original, so I'm going to refer to it from now on as Share a Dream Come True, but that's got to be my number 3 pick.
Well, thank goodness I remain eligible to fill out my roster here. Because, and here comes another twist to my lack of parade viewership. I have never witnessed with my own 2 eyes right in front of me a parade in Florida.
How dare you?
Genevieve,
Gasp.
your eyes right there.
Disqualified.
It really went hollow.
Disqualified. Unbelievable.
You've got some homework to do, sir.
Yeah, I do. I got to get out there. I know there's no parades running right now, but at some point I've got to... Look, I grew up with the adage, when a parade was going on, you go on the rides. And when I'm flying all the way to the other coast... And
you got to make use of that time. I get it. I understand.
That's literally the only reason. It wasn't because I didn't want to see a parade. It was because I'm on limited time when I'm, away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely,
Walt Disney World viewers, I'm so happy that I am now your favorite of this cast, and that I always will be. You're welcome.
And don't forget, my favorite park in Florida isn't really known for parades. So
it's not, but
they've had some.
And I will tease this
some.
a little bit. You will see one of them on my list.
Oh.
Well,
I won't reveal which one.
That's good for show's sake, but it really doesn't matter because I can't pick it anyway, right?
It's true.
But anyway, let's go to my 3rd pick. I'm going to stick with the holiday theme.
Yes.
Did you know I was going to do this? You had a look on your face like you knew.
I thought you would because it is a great parade.
It is. I'm taking the Frightfully Fun parade, which until this past year was eligible for the only one park category until it moved over to Disney's California Adventure. And shockingly enough, it's the only place I've ever seen it. And that was this past year. And I was very impressed with what I saw. Watching the Headless Horseman just walk down the parade corridor in DCA was really cool. To kick off a parade like that, I mean, that's going to get you sucked in almost immediately. Everybody always waits for the float, right? Here comes that first float. No, you got the Headless Horseman coming down, holding his head while he's on the horse. And I mean, just to kick it off, that's really cool. Of course, Nightmare Before Christmas is always going to be something that's classic when it comes to Halloween. It's the big theme, especially out here on the West Coast. For me, I don't want to reveal what my favorite attraction of all time is, but I kind of have to when I'm talking about this. So this is going to really help Christian's case for a future episode when we do Disneyland attractions. But the Haunted Mansion for me is my favorite attraction of all time. And to have the grave diggers and the dancers coming down alongside the float, I think is really cool. And And here's a couple of cool facts for you for this one. Did you know that the finale float from the Frightfully Fun Parade is exactly the same as the finale float from the Parade of Dreams, and they repurposed it?
Oh my
Did you know
goodness.
that? If you think about it,
Yeah,
you
now that
can
I
see
think about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other one is Jafar, who's riding. Well, he doesn't ride on that float anymore. Now he kind of walks off to the side because they added some elements. The staff that he's holding was the staff they used in the stage show at the Hyperion.
Oh,
So,
no way.
so he's holding that during the parade. So there's a couple of cool facts for you. So I'm going Frightfully Fun with my third pick, and hopefully I can make 2 more picks.
That's a good one. And I think the Haunted Mansion float is so cool. Like, it was so cool. Now, I do think that this one is a little bit of a tough one for some people, because some people might not have seen it just because you can't see it
Yeah,
unless you pay to go to the party,
this is true.
which was Not So Scary Halloween. Now it's Oogie Boogie Bash,
That's
I
correct.
believe.
Yep,
Yeah,
you got
yes.
it.
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting. The only parade float that I ever knew got repurposed was the princesses were on one, and then that's what the angels stood on when they won the World Series.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only parade
Wow.
float where I was like, I've seen that float before. So anyway, that's a fun fact. Fun fact that has absolutely nothing to do with this show. But a very good third pick. What do you think of the Halloween parade?
Great third pick. That's a good one. Ballroom dancers, my favorite. Just the way they moved along, and then they would shift their heads just enough to almost look like they broke their neck. Was very scary for little kids, but I mean, it's so good. And then those grave diggers with that, the orange scrapes. It gives you all the feels. So I like that third pick.
Yeah, I was worried that I was taking it a little early, but I think it's better than the last 2 that I've seen. So I had to take it right now.
It's a great parade. I will say it's a great parade. So
Yes.
all right, go into the 4th round, and I'm actually shocked at myself that I didn't choose this earlier, but it deserves to go right now. One of the best parades that I can remember watching as a kid was introduced by none other than Jiminy Cricket himself. Of course, I'm talking about Spectro Magic.
Wow.
It was a great parade. It was really the first attempt at kind of one-upping the Main Street Electrical Parade. It was a great nighttime parade. Mickey started off with that kind of crystal ball looking thing that made it look like he was controlling the entire parade. I thought the music was great. I think that the inclusion of Fantasia actually pushes that one higher on my list too, because I feel like you don't really see that outside of Fantasmic. So I thought that was really cool. The Peacock float, I still remember seeing it, and it was dazzling. They had the carousel float. The lights changed color. All of a sudden, Captain Hook was wearing all white, and then he was back to wearing the colors. And, of course, Minnie Mouse and Jiminy Cricket at the end saying so long. Spectro Magic has to be on my list, and it's on my list at number 4. I know I just told you all about that parade that you've never seen, Eric.
Nope.
So, Genevieve, what do you think of that pick?
I actually, you know what? I didn't see
break
that
my
one,
heart.
but
Yes.
I know
That bodes well for
I
me.
did not see that one. Or if I did, I don't remember.
Y'all are going to make some people mad online
Yeah.
right now.
I think the earliest parade, I don't even remember which parade it was. It was the one with Oliver and Company at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And that was what 89, I believe. So, but yeah, I'm going to have to do some homework myself now and watch that on good old YouTube.
I'm borderline offended.
Sorry,
that neither
people
of you
who are
have seen
listening.
Now the funny part is you actually had me watch some video of that parade
Yes,
before
I
we
did, 'cause I knew
we
you
started
hadn't
recording
seen it.
this. Yeah, it looked cool.
that. Yeah.
I could sell it and say all the great things I want. Jen's never seen it, so
Yeah, that's brutal.
I
That's
am good.
Brutal.
and
All right.
I know I can get to at least 4 picks now,
Yes, you can.
so that's good. This is one that's had a pretty good runtime if you look in the whole scope of parades at Disneyland, which is the only place I can select from.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a big music guy when it comes to music. Give me high energy, give me up tempo, make it sound great. And Mickey's Soundsational Parade hit all those for
All
me.
right.
It was not
Soundsational.
terribly visual. You go back, you look at the floats; they weren't as grandiose as Parade of Dreams. They weren't as bright as A Paint the Night. But for me, it's called Soundsational. It needed to be centered around music, and they did exactly that. They put the emphasis on the music. It starts with the drum line right at the beginning. Almost has, the college band drum line, pep rally type feel to this parade. That's why I loved it. You include the Three Caballeros in anything, it's probably going to get my vote. I'm glad I was able to take it so late. And also, here's your fun fact for this parade. At 132 beats per minute, if we're talking music, is the fastest tempo of any Disney parade they have ever done. That's anywhere.
Interesting.
See, I'm sitting here wondering if you looked up that fact or if you just listened to them all online and counted.
Definitely the former. Definitely the former.
It's a good pick, though. I did enjoy the ending where you would have the Mary Poppins kind of thing going on.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool, too. And so, yeah, that's a good pick.
I think my favorite thing about it was, most Disney parades have the iconic songs that from the movies that you can sing along to. This one had that, but it also meshed it into the overarching song of the entire parade. It was mixed in with Soundsational itself. So the fact that they pulled that in, and then, of course, the ending was really cool with Mary and Bert on their tricycles, their carousel tricycles. I'll take Soundsational at 4, and hope to the stars above I'm able to make a 5th selection. So we'll see how this goes.
Well, I will let you know that you will be able to, because I am going to Walt Disney World for my final pick in the 5th round. In the final round, I am going with Tapestry of Dreams from Epcot.
Nice.
I thought that it was one of the best parades. Now, it was Tapestry of Nations, and then kind of got reworked, and it was the Tapestry of Dreams. But I remember the music of that parade more than anything else, I think. It's part of that iconic Epcot music that I'll never forget. It was that World Showcase music. And then the really cool thing I like about this one is this really wasn't a floats parade. It was more of a puppeteer parade. But they were giant puppets. They were giant, metallical, obscure-looking things that were walking around World Showcase. I loved the music of it. I loved the look of it. I thought it was different enough that it deserved to have a spot on my list. That is my final pick of the parade's round, is Tapestry of Dreams.
I am absolutely stunned that 3 of your 5 picks came from the opposite coast.
Are you?
I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
And before you get to your 5th pick, again, I love some of the parades here. I think again, that Disney does parades so well. I love Walt Disney World's parades that they've done. Festival of Fantasy.
I was just about to
list.
say, I cannot believe, people are going to be at home. I can't believe neither one of you knuckleheads took that one.
It was close.
But I'm not eligible.
You haven't seen it.
And you decided
that's right.
not to.
A gasp again on this side.
Yep, see? I think that is a fantastic parade, but I'm going back to when I was a kid watching the parade. I think that Epcot was better when it had regular parades going around World Showcase. And they actually kind of do that right now with the princesses and then Mickey and Minnie kind of making laps around as a big nice nod, because we aren't allowed to get close to the characters right now.
Right.
Because of the world we're living in right now. I think it's cool, though, when you have a parade that is themed after all of the nations. That is why Tapestry of Dreams is on my list, and that's my 5th pick. Eric, to you.
Here we go.
Well, hold on, can I predict this? Are we going to count down to fun?
Yes.
Yes!
It's the only one I'm eligible to select after everything.
I figured.
And hey, I'm a huge fan of Queen, right? I love music.
Yeah.
I love that band. I get Don't Stop Me Now with The Incredibles.
Yes, you do.
Which I love The Incredibles. So I'm taking the Pixar Play Parade because I have to. I do enjoy it.
Because I
had other things on my list that you took, obviously. Of course, when I'm plotting this all together, I put what the perfect 5 picks are. It's only logical you're going to take some of them.
Yeah.
And since I'm only eligible for 7 of them worldwide, I'm taking the Pixar Play Parade with my 5th and final pick, and I'm more excited that I was able to draft 5 parades. So
I almost didn't let you.
You almost didn't let me. I appreciate you, whether
Close call.
you knew that or not. I'll take Pixar Play Parade with my 5th and final pick. What do you think about that nightcap for me there, Jen?
So Pixar Play Parade, was it always a water parade?
Not all the time. Sometimes they wouldn't have the water features.
Okay.
But sometimes they would. Like for the
when
summers,
I was doing,
they would.
Yeah, because I was trying to go back and I was like, was it always water? Because I remember a couple times there was just strictly the floats. You know what I mean? So the water element was nice on those hot days. But
I was going to say, I imagine it was a weather permitting thing.
Probably. Yeah.
I still remember watching that parade and getting blasted with the Bugs Life float cannon water. Like, I mean, it was like you were getting shot with a cannon.
Was a hose.
It was great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You were like, come back.
It was
don't
not
go,
a hose.
Don't go.
That was a fire hose. Like, it had some serious propulsion on it. So I remember that one very well. But I love the Pixar Play Parade. I got to see it a lot, being in Disney California Adventure for a little while. And you really do get to see some cool parade floats going down the line. Mm-hmm. I think it's a solid 5th pick, seeing that it was your only option. And
thanks, appreciate that.
And so I will congratulate you on that.
You handcuffed yourself a little bit last week when we were talking about the World Showcase countries, and this time I handcuffed myself even more than you did. At least you could choose between 2 things. I couldn't even do that, but I'll take it. I'm okay with my selections. Genevieve, before you tell us who wins today's draft, we want to hear your list. We know you prepared a list too.
Okay, so I did have a list. And so there's actually, let's see here. I think I got 4 out of my 5 made it on your guys' list. So number 1, I came in with Paint the Night, just because, of course, all of the feels.
Oh, boy.
Number 2, Soundsational.
Oh.
Because, I think it's because that one, that lasted a long time throughout my, good years of my 20s. And I just remember going there and watching it, and it was good. Number 3, of course, Eric, you have not seen this one, which I still can't believe. Festival of Fantasy.
Oh, but I didn't take it.
That's the one we didn't take.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, come on, the steampunk come on, I can't even.
The tips of the floats go by behind
trees. That doesn't count.
I know, that's why I couldn't exactly.
That doesn't count if you're on Splash Mountain and you see it going through the colonial area. That doesn't count. Coming in at number 4, I picked Boo to You. Wow. That one was very hard because our version at Disneyland is great, but I picked Disney World's version only because they have the capacity to have much more grave diggers, ballroom dancers. The floats are just a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing this parade back in 2005, and the Headless Horseman didn't trot. He ran
booked it
down Main Street. And you could hear those hooves coming down. And then you just see it was almost like if you blinked, you would have seen him. Now it's nice that, takes this cute little trot, shows his head, but yeah. And then coming in at number 5, neither of you guys picked this one. You guys never even talked about it.
Oh boy.
This was my personal favorite only because I had a friend who was in this parade. And so it was just exciting to see them and see how much they loved it. It was the Block Party Bash.
Yeah.
At DCA.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
That soundtrack alone, it was a dance party. You don't get to see that anymore with actual dancers bringing in people into the parade, being a part of the parade, dancing around. You've got people jumping on trampolines. You just had all this crazy fluorescent colors, all of it. That was my number 5 pick.
I can disclose that I would have taken it instead of Pixar Play Parade, but I never saw it. And I had a friend in that parade also.
Yeah,
so I'm a great friend. We found
and you
that out
didn't
here
show
today.
some support or love for them.
That's what I'm saying. We found out I'm a great friend right here today on the show.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
Because it was a shorter wait for Tower of Terror. I got it. I know.
Yeah,
I get it.
You know, just didn't get over there when it was parade time.
Yeah. Well, and they're, again, all the parades that Disney does are great. I mean, there's some really solid choices. So this one was tough. But if I'm looking at that list that you just made, technically, we each only have one.
Yeah, so
on your list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
But
One
if we're
each.
getting technical, Boo to You is not the same as here. So technically, there's one on each side, which means I'm excited to get down to the judging. Don't hold back. Be brutal. Be honest. Who wins today's draft of the parades of the Disney parks in the United States?
When you guys first asked me to be a judge, I was like, parades, that's easy. But when you really dive into it and really broke it down, it was very hard to do my top 5, so
Imagine
Eric,
doing it when you've only seen
sir,
7.
because you I mean, I don't know how you survived, but you did. Looking at the list, seeing why you guys picked each one, I'm gonna have to go with Christian.
There it is.
And this is why. This is the reason why. I feel like, yes, Eric, you only saw the 7. I think Christian having such connections to the parades that he picked, even though I have never seen them, now I want to go and see them, obviously, now on YouTube because they're no longer with us, right? Just the way you described them, the connections that you made with each and every one of them, I think that's kind of like what set the bar to him. And you picked a parade that wasn't really a parade, but it technically is the Tapestry of Dreams, right? At Epcot. It's a parade. But I'm just saying, I didn't even know that they had that at Epcot. So, yeah. So I'm going to have to give it to Christian. I'm sorry, Eric.
So
I hope we're still good friends after this.
Brady McDonald, if you're listening to this, clearly emotion does count some places. I'm so happy we are evened up. It's 2-2.
Just like everybody knows I'm a huge sports fan. Just like most of my teams, I have also blown a 2-0 lead. Oh, here we go again. What else is new?
But I do think that part of the big issue is that you haven't seen as many of the parades. You didn't see any of them in Walt Disney World, which I think is a travesty that you should be mocked for online forever. I'm kidding. Please be nice, folks. But I think that the parades in Walt Disney World are fantastic. That's why I chose 3 out of 5 from Walt Disney World. And if Main Street Electrical Parade was on my list, technically that counts for Walt Disney World too. Again, I was kind of hoping you wouldn't choose Main Street, but I didn't think we'd not see that. Although, Genevieve, your list didn't have Main Street Electrical Parade on it. I'm interested as to why about that.
I really wanted it to be on the list. But the reason why I think I didn't pick it is I think I went off of connection with, I connected to that. And I remember when we went to Disney World for my son's first time, that's when they had it over in Disney World. I was so mad because we fed him all this sugar and he literally passes out 5 minutes before the parade started. And just growing up, I remember that parade, but I was like, I have to go through all my parades that I've seen and then really buckle it down. So it was more of just kind of rewatching them, revisiting them, and seeing which ones really tugged at my little Disney heart. And I think if we did a top 6, probably squeeze in at number 6.
I think one that I had to omit from my list, but I love it every single time I see it, is the electrical water pageant, where they take the Main Street Electrical Parade and put it on Seven Seas Lagoon in Walt Disney World.
Oh, I love that little parade.
I think that's
I love that parade.
For the purposes of this show, I didn't really count it as a parade per se.
Right.
But I love that too. So another point to Disney World. So all you Florida
especially
people,
with the Dole Whip. Yep. Dole Whip at Polynesian people, I'm your Hotel.
Guy. with a Dole Whip at the Polynesian.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm just more upset that I am now on a losing streak of my own. I wasn't confident going into this one, knowing that I hadn't seen a bunch of these parades. I mean, I guess I can go see all the ones I haven't yet, but what difference does it make? We're not going to do this episode again, so.
But then you can understand why they were chosen.
Now,
well, maybe so.
The other one, and it is an apology on. I'm making this apology for the both of us. So I'm speaking on your part as well. Neither of us have seen Magic Happens because it debuted.
I will be the third one to say I have not seen it.
And it's only because it debuted shortly before the pandemic shut down the park.
Yeah, I actually was in the park going to see it.
Oh, but you probably decided to go on Space Mountain instead. So.
Well, I had a boarding group.
There it is.
That's what. Yeah.
What had happened was we had lined up by Small World, right at Parade Step Off over there, and we're gonna get ready to watch the parade. About, I don't know, 35 minutes before show step off. Was not a crowded day in the park, and the skies opened up and it started to pour, and the show was canceled. So
brutal.
That's the reason why I haven't seen it, and I wasn't able to get back in time, like you mentioned, before the park closed temporarily. So I'm excited to see it
I've
we go
seen
back.
Parts of it online, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen a couple things online, and I did my best to avoid it, so I didn't see anything. Because looking at those renderings, when they revealed it, I looked at myself, this is going to be the most technologically advanced thing we have ever seen. And if they execute it properly, it should be great. And I've heard nothing but good things from people who have seen it.
Yeah, and that song is, I mean, I feel like that's going to end up being one of those songs that are, timeless. You'll play it 20 years from now and people will still get giddy about it. So hopefully one day, all three of us will be able to see it in real life, not just on a TV screen.
Hopefully soon.
Genevieve, thank you so much for being here with us here today.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your services.
This was way too much fun, guys.
I very much appreciate your services because you gave me the win. So
yeah,
of course
I feel very lucky to get to sit here with you guys and talk about Disney, especially in these crazy times. I know we all miss Disney, so hopefully soon we can get back in our old stomping grounds, right?
Yep. Could not agree more. Well, the best to you and your family. Hopefully you guys are staying safe and healthy while this is all going on, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you've come from behind to even up the score, and I was let down by my own friend. Unbelievable.
That might be the best part of it, is that, like, I had never met her before.
No, you hadn't.
And she still picked me. But you had never met John.
That's true.
He picked you. Neither of us had met Brady in person.
Yep.
We both had met Jonathan.
Right, yep, we know him.
But Genevieve, I had never met, and I still got the W.
Well, let's talk about now the integrity of everybody we've chosen. They're not playing sides.
No.
That's for darn sure.
Yep.
But, I mean, look, I knew going in I was going to be at a massive disadvantage, right? I hadn't seen very many parades.
It's crazy to me that you never saw one in Disney World.
All of you out there listening right now, if you want to shame me on social media for it, please feel free to do so at Drafting the Magic on Instagram and Facebook, at Drafting Magic on Twitter. Again, I couldn't get the thought in there. But
don't shame the show.
Not the show, just
shame Eric.
Just me. That's fine. I'm not giving out my personal social media accounts. If you find them, good for you.
Well, and I'll say, and I've said it a couple times already, the parades are fantastic. There's no other company that does parades besides maybe a certain Thanksgiving parade that is seen on television that I'm not going to drop names of because they don't sponsor us. Well,
I mean, if you think about, they don't just put on a parade and give you another entertainment offering. They do it twice a day.
Yep. Sometimes at night.
Sometimes at night, right? If it's going to be a long day, sometimes they'll do a third one if they have to. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to go to another theme park and see parades like this. And you can go on YouTube and watch them. The innovation, the technology that goes into these were way ahead of their time when they came out. We look at the Main Street Electrical Parade now and we say,
Oh, sure.
it's getting beat up, it's getting old. But if you go watch videos from when it first came out, I know the video is going to be grainy, but look at the faces of the people watching it. You'd never seen anything like that before.
Well, and I imagine that being the same way that I saw Paint the Night, in that you've never seen them take digital lighting and, just, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, they took the video screens, but then they took the LED lighting and made it amazing. Like, I still think about the Monsters Inc. float. It's it's amazing. The one, I mean, aside from the finale float with Mickey and the lights and the way that mechanism moves, the first time my jaw went down looking at something was when Mac drove by. And it was just something so simple as stringing all of those lights inside the truck. You say simple. That took somebody a lot of work.
Well, let me say
from a visual understanding,
it looks so simple as stringing something like that, and still just watching or going by and my eyes lighting up. For a guy who's not a big parade guy, I don't watch many parades, and it was simply because I was brought up on that's when you go on rides. The lines are shorter, which is true. Maybe not as short as they used to be when parades were going on. I think the word got out on that, but the fact that they do a couple of them per day tells you that they understand that you're only going to watch one of them.
Yeah.
And that divides up the crowd a little bit. So you can miss one and then come back and see the other one later, which is probably a big reason why nowadays in my older years, I will sit down and I'll watch a parade. But I'm very behind on the East Coast, and that's the hard part, right? Limited time when you're out there. So I think I've learned my lesson, and the next time I take a trip out there, whenever parades do resume again, I might just have to stop to smell the roses. Yeah,
and the Disney World parades are very well done. And like Genevieve kind of said with the Boo to You thought, is they have the capacity to have more performers in the shows. So you really do get to see more of that aspect too.
Yeah, you can look at a float all day long and, wow, look at it do that. But if there's no performers in there to help interact with everybody and get you more involved, it kind of loses its edge a little bit. So the interactivity that they've come up with and, expanding it into the nighttime entertainment when we talk about fireworks shows and how projection mapping is now a big thing. Disneyland now has a nighttime spectacular that is enhanced by fireworks.
Yeah.
It's not a fireworks show.
Yeah.
It is a projection show enhanced by fireworks that can be seen without fireworks. So instead of at night when if there's a weather issue that'll cause the fireworks to be canceled and, oh, well, we're leaving, there is now an option to, no, we still got something for you.
Yeah.
So, look, I know we kind of sound like we're getting paid to advertise everything they have. We are not. This is just something that we love to do. We love to go see. We're always going to go back,
and we love to talk about.
And we love to talk about it. And that's where this show came from. And having a draft where I had to put together all those notes. I may not watch parades, but there's no denying how much effort I put into this to try to.
Yeah, he knows more about the parades than anyone else does now.
Yeah, even though I haven't seen most of them. But I can't wait for the next show. I can't wait for the next draft. I've got to get back over 500.
I think the next show is going to be a lot of fun. I will do the exact same thing I did last time, where I will tease a little bit. We are going back to Walt Disney World.
Look, you've done a great job on social media too. I ain't gonna lie, you're running the social media account. I've done virtually nothing.
You.
But all the teasers that go out, you've done good with that. Getting people like, oh, what's the next topic going to be? I've gotten texts from friends and I've seen some messages on social media like, we're looking forward to the next one. So
good.
Thank you to everybody who's been listening. We really do hope you enjoy this.
And keep the feedback coming.
Yeah. If you have any ideas, let us know. Give us your top 5 for an episode. Let's see those coming. And again, you can go on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. On Twitter @DraftingMagic. On Instagram and Facebook @DraftingTheMagic.
Yeah. A little bit of feedback that I got from a couple of them. The snacks episode was was a big one.
Yeah.
The fact that the Tigger tails did not make the list.
Oh.
Or the pickle at Disneyland did not make the
See,
list.
and I could have thrown that in there because I have eaten that.
Yeah, so have I. But I'm like, oh man. So a big thanks to Jordan and Joseph who submitted those. There are a lot of them that people either A, hadn't had before and they're looking forward to trying it again, or they think we missed a couple. So keep them coming. I want to know what parades you thought we should have put on this list and what parades Eric should have seen, because his was limited. And yeah, he lost because of it.
The number of parades that I should see is going to exceed the number of parades I have seen, I imagine.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's hard to do.
Nope.
But
you're right.
That's what you've got to look forward to next time. It's a Disney World topic. It's not about Epcot. And I'm going for the lead next week.
We'll see about that.